Parents, love your children. You don't know what they'll work to be. Provide for them and nourish them. Show them how real parents should be. Parents, love your children. You don't know what they'll work to be.
Good afternoon and welcome to Parents Love Your Children. I'm your host, Toro Suddeth, my co-host, Dr. Charlotta Suddeth, and we are just enjoying the cool break in the weather, and it's still nice outside. At least we don't have old man winter hanging around us. But the story I'm going to share with you is entitled, one of my favorites, Barack Obama, Son of Promise, Child of Hope. And this is by Nikki Grimes, illustrated by Brian Collier. And in the side flap reads, ever since Barack Obama was young, hope has lived inside him, from the beaches of Hawaii to the streets of Chicago, from the jungles of Indonesia to the plains of Kenya. He has held on to hope even as a boy. Barack knew he wasn't quite like anybody else, but through his journeys, he found the ability to listen to hope and become what he is meant to be, a bridge to bring people together. This is the moving story of our 44th president, as told by Nikki Grimes and illustrated by Brian Collier, both winners of the Coretta Scott King Award. Barack Obama has motivated Americans to believe with him, to believe that every one of us has the power to change ourselves and to change our world. And the story goes as, one day, Hope stopped by for a visit. It was early evening and a boy named David sat on a tenement floor glued to the TV. "Who's that?" the boy asked his mother, pointing to the screen. His mother looked up from a frayed sofa and set her newspaper aside. "That's Barack Obama," she said. "Barack what?" "Barack Obama," she repeated with a smile. "I know it's a mouthful. Anyway, he's someone very special." "Why?" "Well, for one thing, how come those people are shouting his name? Because are they all his friends? They must be his friends. What's his name again? Boy, you're about to wear me out." "Sorry," David whispered. The mother patted a spot on the sofa beside her. "Come," she said. "If you sit still, I'll tell you a story all about Barack Obama." They used to call him Barry. His family stretched from Kansas to Kenya. His mama white as whipped cream, his daddy black as ink. His mama's folks, Gramps and Toot, were part of the first family he ever knew. Love was the bridge that held them all together. In Hawaii, breathing the scent of ginger blossoms, Barry grew swimming, surfing, and spearfishing next to the playmates from places like Portugal, China, India, and Japan, and never once did he ask if all those people could get along. They just did. Honolulu looked like heaven, but even though the blue of the sea was sharp, even as to the slice the sun, and the sun warmed the sand between his toes, and the sand sparkled like diamonds, nothing could fill the hole in Barry's heart. Once his daddy went away, his mom and Gramps and Toot told him brave and funny tales of his father's past to soothe his hurt and make him laugh, but that didn't stop Barry from feeling sad sometimes, especially when he heard the word divorce. Barry's mom married a man named Lulu, and oh, the wonderland. He took Barry to Indonesia, a land of pet gibbons and packed crocodiles. Barry laughed himself silly, sliding in the rainy season mud. He caught crickets, flew kites, enjoying the jungle at the edge of his new home. A perfect paradise until the sight of beggars broke his heart. Barry started to wonder, will I ever be able to help people like these? Hope hummed deep inside of him. Someday, son, Someday, son. Before dawn each morning, Barry rose, his mother's voice driving him from the dreamland. Time for learning English grammar and the golden rule. Be honest, be kind, be fair, she taught him. Your father is smart and strong and full of courage, and you'll be the best. You'll be just like him. How can I, thought Barry. I don't even remember his voice. Back in Hawaii, a surprise came one day. I'm here, son, he heard his father say, Barry listening to the strange song of his father's voice. Your grandma says you're doing very well in school. It's in the blood, I think. Was this tall and skinny Harvard man the one who lived in all those stories? For a time, all Barry could do was stare as the days passed. They would share talks and walks, and then his dad was gone again, a ghost once more. Hold tight, said Hope. This strand of memory is stronger than you'll ever know. The sun and moon paraded past Pally's Peak more times than Barry's quick mind could count. Soon he pounded across a high school gym, slamming the basketball his father had sent him one Christmas. A few letters flew back and forth from mother to father, from father to son. Barry was the bridge that connected them. Sadly, some days he felt as if that bridge was sinking. Who am I? Asked Barry. I don't look like my mother. I don't look like my father. I only look like me. Barry was dizzy with questions. You are not your father, a friend told him. You are not your mother. You must choose your own way. Choose what? Thought Barry. Choose how? He searched for courage inside him, and hope was waiting there. Barry's mind spun like a top. He know which way to go. Listen, said Hope, and he did. There it was, the answer repeating like a chorus in his ear, a choir in his ear. Education is the key, said Gramps. Education is the secret, said Toot. Education is the way, said Mom. Education is the path, said his father. Remember, it's in the blood. Barry rolled up his sleeves and he studied in the shadow of Pally's Peak, in the shadow of Hollywood sign, in the shadow of Langston, Harlem. Still, he couldn't stop asking, who am I? Some called him an ugly name, too terrible to repeat, but he refused to answer to that. Instead, one morning he slipped on the name he's been born with, the name of his father, Barack. For the first time in his life, he wore it proudly, like a coat of many colors. When Barack wasn't studying, he liked to jog along the Hudson River. He couldn't help but notice the river of hurt and hate his history that separated blacks and whites. Being both, he could not take sides. Don't worry, said Hope. I will be your bridge. In time, you will be the bridge for others. Barack hid his sadness, study, said the voice of his childhood. Watch, learn, keep your eyes open. Barack's eyes saw the hungry and the homeless, crying out like beggars, burning a hole in his heart. When his classes came to an end, he raced to Chicago to join hands with the church to learn new lessons. Not how to be black or white, but how to be a healer, how to change things, how to make a difference in the world. The work was grueling, with stretches of failure and pony patches of success. Door to door, Barack went early mornings, late nights, pleading and preaching, coaxing strangers to march together to make life better for everyone. He worked as hard as a farmer, planting the words, yes, we can, like seeds in the spring, impacting. Barack kept wondering if those seeds would ever sprout. He worried that hope in him would soon fade away. One Sunday when Barack was sitting in the church, Barack heard God say, slow down, look around you. Now look to me. There is hope enough here to last a lifetime. Barack smiled, tears rolling down his cheeks. Suddenly he knew for certain hope would last long enough to him to make a difference. Before Barack chased his future, he visited his past, traveling to Kenya to find his family, his father's bones, and his own place in the circle of Africa. He sat and he sat and he sat with Jane and Sarah and Yusuf, and he swapped stories with Roy and Bernard, Mark and George, and all the other relatives who had prayed for such a day. Finally, Barack knelt in the soil at his father's grave, listening to the still small voice that spoke to his heart. Go now, fly free, become the man you were meant to be, live in hope, keep the past in memory, but shape your own tomorrow. Hope may be slim and beautiful, but she is not a weak thing. Barack proved that when he went to Harvard Law School, convinced people to join hands in Illinois, wrote new laws to give the poor a better chance. He proved it again when all of Washington, D.C. wondered what this skinny kid with a funny name could offer a nation in need. But the hope that lived in Barack burned bright, and on the night he became senator, everybody felt the flame. One star-kissed night 4 years later, as his wife Michelle stood by, Barack smiled on the seas of faces from Wichita, and he saw whites and blacks, rich and poor, Christians and Muslims and Jews. He felt the presence of Gramps and Toots. He saw the ghosts of his parents, of Martin Luther King Jr. and JFK. And on that special day, Barack was a bridge that held them all together. Thank you for electing me president, he said. Can we make America better? Can we work together as one? With a single voice, the crowd called out, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And on January 8, 2008, Barack Obama told us, yes, we can. On November 4, 2008, we did. And that's the end of Barack Obama, Son of Promise, Child of Hope. The New York Times bestseller by Nikki Grimes and illustrated by Brian Collier. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more parent tips and a word from Dr. Shar.
Some video games.
What's up, Dr. Shar? Hey. We haven't seen you in forever. No, this is great. I don't think there was nothing I wanted to read in here. I already read that.
Hey, let me ask you, let's chat a little bit about
Barack Obama.
our parenting.
But the love from his kids is totally apparent. Ooh. See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Just play catch. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Parents Love Your Children. I'm your host, Toro Sudeth, and my co-host, Dr. Charlotta Sudeth. And we shared the story of Barack Obama, Son of Promise, Child of Hope. How are you doing, Dr. Shar? I mean, I just want to say what's up to you.
Well, thank you. I am so happy to be in the building on today. I have missed coming down and sharing on Parents Love Your Children, but nevertheless, I'm glad to be here on today.
Glad to have you on today.
As you were reading the biography of our 44th president, my mind just drifted back. Toro, do you remember where you were during the time of the election when they announced him as winner, or the inauguration, or has any of those things been kind of like sealed in your memory?
I was at home. We were surrounded by all of our kids. We were watching the TV show of him, and that probably would make it real good that all the kids was around me, and we was all at home together.
Yeah, and I just remember taking that day off of the inauguration, and that was my own personal holiday. I remember I believe, as a flautist, First Lady Michelle Obama, and coming out in that beautiful, I want to say maybe like a soft lime green, and it just took so much pride in being alive to witness the first African American president of these United States, and still take great pride as just as on last week, through the use of social media, everybody's aware of that term these days, gospel music was in the White House on last week. So just thinking about all the cultural nuances and changes that have come just from having an African American president.
Yeah, I think I saw that. There was, some gospel going on in there. I do believe I saw that. And another reason why I read this book, well, because of last week we had a few kids in the studio.
Yes.
And she started reading the book, and I was just going to read it and finish it today.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, as everything that I do, if this book could be just even in high school, for high schoolers to pick this book up and read it, and see what was written about Barack Obama, and how he came forth, and how he listened to hope and
Yes.
bridge gaps together. I mean, if they could just read this and just continue on, and maybe that would build some self-esteem in them as well.
Yes,
By
I agree.
reading this story, and that's why I shared it on air. All our listeners, they do listen. You'll be surprised, but Barack Obama was just something I wanted to share. I'll read that.
Right.
Yeah. So, I always go back to this book.
Oh, do you?
I have no clue why. I always will pick it up and read it, and
Wow.
yeah, it's not getting raggedy for nothing, So there have been times where I have picked it up and read back through it. It's from Reverend Ron and Justine Simmons, from the stars of the MTV. Remember Ron's House?
Yes.
And so he had wrote a book, A Challenge to American Parents to Take Back Your Family.
Right.
And how I'm continuing reading, a few parts of it.
Yes.
And of course you can, help me out with this as well. But to have that challenge is where we need to take back our families, not only our community, but our family as well.
Yes.
And in Ron, he has little statements in here that he really, dwells on. But it's very important to take your children back from the insecurities that plague them. Childhood and the teenage years have always been times when young people question themselves at their role in the world. But he believes that even more of an issue today, there's much more media out there that attract our kids to websites, commercials, TV shows, constantly trying to get in their heads and tell them that there's always something else that they need to be cool, that needs to be cool. And so that's why he states in here how a lot of his kids have struggled with situations from media.
Right. Yeah, and we talk about that at that time in teenage years, that you're still doing your identity construct, and you're finding others to pattern yourself after, and sometimes what they find to pattern themselves after really is not a good role model or a good person to pattern after.
Yeah, true. And the number one thing that I deal with is the new tennis shoes.
Oh
I
my.
don't know if anyone deals with that, but I do.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that, and
I don't even know if I can say this, but I like the fact that your father said, Michael Jordan sells a lot of tennis shoes out there that he is not even wearing.
my goodness. Hopefully he can say that.
It was just so many things that they do get mixed up on,
Yes.
and they want to, get out there and buy the new hip hop clothes, or, new watches, or the new sunglasses that's supposed to give them some kind of identity.
Yes.
But none of those things does.
Right.
Just knowing who you are is enough.
Right. And we all came through that phase. I was thinking,
Oh, yeah.
our parents
Well,
called it,
not too much.
well, yeah, because, our parents knew what they were going to buy and what they weren't going to buy.
Yeah.
And if you wanted something different than what they were going to buy, you had to chip in.
No.
Or you didn't even have
I
that
didn't
choice?
have that chip-in deal.
Okay, well,
I had to go out and get my own job and do it.
Okay, well,
Like,
I
if I
had
wanted
to,
the up-to-date tennis shoes,
you had to get it.
I had to get a job and buy those tennis shoes.
Okay, if I wanted something more than what my mom was gonna give me, I had to kind of chip in. But you know what the phrase was then, Toro?
What?
Charlotta, you're not gonna be keeping up with the Joneses.
Okay. And my favorite one that he used, since media is just taking us all over, is how he sends his son a text message.
Okay.
Yeah, and telling him how proud he is of him,
Yes.
being a leader and not a follower, and that just one thing that grabbed me out of this.
Yeah.
With this media and everything.
How you could take advantage of as a parent.
Right.
And
just write certain things, like if you know they're going to have a test, or they have certain grades that
Yes.
you want them to meet. Since they're on this media, text it to them and say, "Hey, do good on that test. I'm praying for you."
have a good day.
Right.
Son, I love you. Just encouraging them, throughout the day. It doesn't always have to be just a serious, like call me or something like that, but just something of encouragement. I think that's great.
Right. So he just uses now technology in order, since they want to be on it, let's use it. Let's keep it in the family. And how you get, the family line, you guys
Yes.
can all text at one time and,
Yes.
just send something to them to encourage them. So
Yeah.
that was one of my tips out of here from Take Back Your Family.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Not only do I want to expound on that, I'm done with this tip right here, but I also want to make sure that I also come on and I want to make a promise to myself and to remind everyone to save the date for May 9th. May 9th is KBBG's banquet,
Yes.
and how we want to stress the importance of everyone come out and see us. For the ones who know us, come out, and for the ones who don't know us,
Right.
come out and see us, because we do have a good speaker,
Yes.
Dr.
Amber Boyd. Yes.
Yeah, she will be our guest speaker that evening,
Yes.
and just a whole, a lot of talent things that would be going on as well.
A very talented and the word phenomenal young woman comes to my mind. She's had so many great accomplishments, all before the tender age. I won't give her age, but she's a young woman with a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I know she's done research on African American girls, and I don't know which way the Lord will lead her, but I think that night will be great. And more than anything, Tor, it is time for us to come together as a community. It's an event that we can come together again as a community, and if for nothing else, just to come together to say, we are still here and we are still fighting for our community.
Right. Yeah, for all of us to come together, unify. We know this banquet, May 9th, happens every year.
Every year.
And it's another opportunity for us to come together and say, hey, we love you, we support you, and what can we do better to help one another?
Yes, yes. So if you're interested in purchasing tickets, you can always call the station here.
Right.
And I'm sure somebody will help you out, but I just, where would we be without KBBG?
Exactly, the KBBG family.
Right.
All in my mind, I always go back to, who used to wake me up.
Oh my God.
The alarm clock.
Yes, Miss Rucker.
Miss Rucker.
Yes, indeed.
And every time that gospel show would come on, I knew it was time for me to get up for school.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. My mind also goes back to, oh, shoot, y'all. Who was that? The Preacher Man. And, his gospel show, now he's, out of this area, but, we can just still remember some of our,
Mr. Walker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They used to get us ready.
Yes. And
Who was my favorite on the school bus?
Who was on the school bus?
Oh my goodness, she was a DJ.
Oh, she was a DJ. I can't.
Dolores Smith.
Yes, Dolores Smith. Yes, yes, yes. She was awesome.
She would be giving shout outs to her daughter, but actually she was giving shout outs to all of us getting up and doing our stuff.
Getting ready for school.
Yeah, so just, I just wanted to bring that back up in front of everyone. May 9th, make sure that we come out and support the beautiful black giant, KBBG that's been here with us. And says we just want to keep that, rolling in people's minds.
Yes.
That the time is coming down for this occasion.
Their 38th annual KBBG banquet.
Yeah. Not only that, but I wanted you to have a little part of time for Kindergarten Roundup.
Oh,
Is that what it's called? Pre-K?
well, you mentioned two great things. Kindergarten Roundup for Waterloo Schools will be coming up here very shortly in May. So, take advantage of that information. But I was also wanting to speak on pre-K. There you go. Pre-K enrollment. That has already begun. We're in the mix of doing that right now. But if you have a son or daughter, or niece or nephew, or know of someone that has a child that will be on or before September 15th of this year, and you're interested in getting them started on the path of success in pre-K with Waterloo Schools, please give our centralized enrollment office a quick call at 235-0383. Again, 235-0383.
I was wondering if you were going to remember the numbers, because I know you have a lot of numbers going on in your head. And I was like, can you hit that number?
Yeah, because on Kindergarten Roundup, I was like, but I believe that Kindergarten Roundup is May 1st. So.
And pre-K, that's pre-K, right?
And pre-K enrollment is...
Is it all together now?
Well, not really all together, but no. Pre-K enrollment, you need to call 235-0383 if you have a son or daughter that's 4 on or before September 15th. And then if you have a child that will be 5 on or before September 15th, and you are trying to get them into kindergarten in the Waterloo Community Schools, you can call the ESC office or visit your local neighborhood school. May 1st, I believe, just happens to be Kindergarten Roundup, but at any time I know the district will serve you and get you to where you need to be.
Okay, all right, good. So we want to keep that in your forefront. Remember to save the date for May 9th. KBBG's banquet, and we also shared with you the story of Barack Obama, son of promise, child of hope, 44th president, just something you want to just have in your library,
Yes.
to go out and get this book anyway.
Yes.
Just something that you just want to have in your collection. This is one of them. Barack Obama, son of promise, child of hope, biography of our 44th president.
Yes.
And remember, we did parent tips, take back your family, and parent tips are coming from the technology part. Let's get busy. Let's start hitting them and saying, get out there and do a good job.
Yes.
So from me to you, Dr. Shaw, anything else? Welcome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Long time no see, no hear.
I know, and I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm not a spokesman for Waterloo Schools by any means, but thank you for letting me give that little shout out.
Well, I knew that was
pre-K
happening.
enrollment.
I think I saw that,
Thank you.
somewhere in their newsletter that this was happening. So I said I was going to have you share that as well.
All right.
Well, on that.
Communicate to educate, KBBG.
And remember, parents, to love your children. Reading unlocks the doors to our future. We'll see you at the same time, same place next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, my, this movie.